Happy hump day, folks. That's right. It's the Wednesday version of the Field of 68's Best Bets show. We are the three-man weave. We are here to navigate you through a pretty impressive little slate, guys. I'm kind of excited about it. We got some good games on the docket. But first, of course, we got to remind you, the show is presented by our wonderful sponsors at BetRivers. Thank you to them. We'll be citing their lines as we go through. That's where we'll get our best bets from. Before we get to today's slate, though, Kai, Matt, and we get to you guys on some takeaways from yesterday. Matt, start with you. What did you see last night in the world of hoops?
Yeah, Jim, I'm still reeling from that Kentucky meltdown late, but a few things. I mean, the whole Michigan discussion. Are we willing to have the panic button alarm bells yet? I mean, are we at that point? It's more of a question, Jim, not a takeaway. I was mulling over this last night. I was like, I'll ask my two colleagues on the program.
Is it rhetorical, or should we answer?
Yeah, answer. Go ahead. Please do.
I'm not ready to panic. They were down like their entire bench yesterday, and Rutgers started
they were short
a fireball from deep. And that's, it's tough when UCF goes 8 for 8 in the second half and Rutgers goes like 7 for 13 in the first half.
Yep.
It's tough to bounce back from that. You'd like to see better effort in the second half, but I'm not panicking on Michigan yet.
Okay, I'm in partial panic mode, Kai. That's where I landed on Michigan. To you?
Yeah, Matt, let's highlight two teams that were expected to be good this season besides Michigan and haven't really lived up to the hype. It's Arkansas and it's Florida State.
Arkansas,
my God.
Good.
Yeah. We're in a small lap for them, but terrible. Both teams have just been brutal. And really Florida State's been worse. And I don't know if that's an indictment on Leonard Hamilton. I don't think it is, because I hold him in very high regard. Or if it's just the fact that, finally they don't have an NBA player step out of nowhere and lead the team. That's probably more so what it is. But Caleb Mills has been struggling. They couldn't hit a lick yesterday. A little bit worried about the Noles, Jim.
Yeah, which game did I watch early on where I was like, this team is sloppy and bad? Maybe it's the South Carolina game, who, stinks in their own right and gave Florida State everything they could handle and beat them.
Yep.
So yeah, the Noles, they're shaky. The point guard play is not there. The creation, it's unfortunately a problem. My takeaway, guys, is that we should never doubt the troops. The air troops, the sea troops, and the land troops. They all covered against the spread yesterday. Honestly, when they're all playing on the same day, we probably should just parlay them, put them together.
It's a fun parlay.
I know, it just fits too. It sets up too perfectly. That's a great narrative.
The trust the troops parlay. We're gonna have that in the future if it ever
working in unison together. Yeah, exactly.
Yep. Exactly. All right, that is it for takeaways. Unless Matt, you have anything else to add?
No, looking through the scores, Jim, a lot of road teams in conference, I think, played pretty well yesterday. Just a slight observation. So seems like, especially in spots where the road team's a little bit more motivated, maybe coming off a loss, home court wasn't as strong. Just an anecdote I'm trying to vet right now, Mr. McKeon.
Good. No, I like it. Give us some data next time.
I know. It's not anti-data is tough here. I got to have some data when I come with that kind of take.
All right, let's start with the headliner tonight, fellas. I think it's clearly the top game on the schedule in the SEC. It was Alabama at Florida, heading down to Gainesville. Matt, you talked about on our own podcast, or maybe it was Kai. No, it was Matt, about how Florida had a pretty rough December. Did not get any big wins. They lost at home to Texas Southern. Now they get to host Alabama, but Florida is coming out of pause, so they've got to deal with that. But I kind of like the matchup for Alabama. I like the matchup for Florida. Am I crazy there, Matthew?
No, I think the matchup sets up very well, actually, for Florida in this one. But I do like Bama quite a bit, and I almost made them my best bet today. Kai, I wanted to start singing a little Counting Crows. It's been a long December as an intro to my pick. Very good. I need to have
good song.
Perfect. That's what it was for Florida, man. I mean, they're coming off the pause. Maybe this is a reboot, reset, start of conference play. We see the team that played like gangbusters to start November with I call them the mid-major all-star defensive stalwarts, where it's like Fleming and an Appleby and then Castleton up front anchoring the interior. You're right, Jim. A lot of things set up all matchup-wise for Florida, but this is a pure price play for me. I think Alabama should be favored. I know they've started a little bit late, but they're healthier, and I just think they're the better coach team. And I just think of the win here. I don't feel like, as I back to my initial anecdote to start off the show, I just don't think the home court has that true juice quite yet, Kai, even in the SEC in this game. I'm just not going to respect it.
Yeah, Florida hasn't played since the 22nd. Maybe they're a little bit shaky coming out of that pause. Marion Jones missed last game. I assume he's back. I wasn't sure why he missed last one. Probably COVID related.
Reported this morning that he's going to play.
Yeah, so much wing length and athleticism for Florida. I think that bothers the Tide. I don't think they have an answer for Castleton either inside Jim. I think Florida has a real advantage there. I'm leaning Florida, man. I think it's a really good spot for them. Alabama coming off that Tennessee win, which they probably should have lost to a shorthanded Tennessee squad, by the way. I'm leaning towards Florida.
Yeah, I kind of am too. As much as I love Alabama and I do like them long term, I like them a little more at home, and I like them against teams that will let them run and let them shoot threes. And Florida does basically none of those things. Really good transition defense, take away the 3-point line entirely. Kai, your Castleton point is spot on. Bediako's going to live in foul trouble, and once he's not on the court, they can't stop anybody at the rim. So the matchup has me very concerned here. Almost took Florida, but I didn't want to butt heads with my guy Matthew. So
I appreciate that. Thanks, guys.
Stayed away.
Sounds like unders. Are we all leading under as we just talk ourselves through that breakdown?
Probably.
Keep them out of transition. You make it more of a grinded out half court affair. I don't really trust Florida's half court offense.
Yeah, Florida's going to try to follow the Iona model in that regard. Just turn it into a grind.
Yep. Hard to do, but that's a good blueprint.
Credit to Jordan Majeski. I didn't realize how much Alabama has shifted to more ball screen. Like last year, it was all ISO. What one guy beat the man in front of him. They're going more ball screen this year to try to create advantages that way. Maybe that helps here, but I don't think they've got the shot creation juice against a really, really good Florida perimeter defense. So yeah, I guess lean towards Florida and the under for me, but not going against my guy, Matthias. All right, let's move down the slate to the next one, headed to the Big 12. Hilton Magic, Hilton Coliseum, Kai, Iowa State hosting Texas Tech. I liked Iowa State right away on the opener, and so did everyone else, it appears. The market all over the clones, betting this one up to, I believe, 4 was the last number I saw. No Terrence Shannon, out with back spasms. No Malik Wilson, he's still out. And rumors of more absences for the Red Raiders. Kai, do we still like it where it's at, or are we starting to think about punching back?
I'm not going to punch back with all those guys potentially out for Texas Tech. I mean, that's huge. Texas Tech's strength is on defense. So when you have a guy like Terrence Shannon out who can score the basketball and potentially other guys who can score for them against one of the best defensive teams in the country. And yes, I'm buying into Iowa State now after watching them against Baylor. That defensive effort was impressive to cover against Baylor at home. They get a second chance here, Matt, at Hilton to win a Big 12 game. Very winnable. They're favorites in this one. I think they come up for this one. I think it's Iowa State's night. Get back to 1-1 in conference. 4 is kind of nuts, but with all Texas Tech's injury issues or personnel issues, I think it makes sense.
Yeah, personnel plus the spot. Everything sets up for Iowa State. I think 4 is insane, but not if you properly account for the potential absence and just the juice that Iowa State's going to have coming off that tough loss to Baylor, which was, I think you said it right, very impressive. Jim Hart, stay away from me, man. I was hoping to maybe back the Red Raiders, but I got to know that at least Shannon's in there.
Shannon's definitely out. 100%.
He's not in there, right? So it's like if he's in there, I'd be fine taking Texas Tech shorthanded with Shannon, but Shannon's just so important on both ends of that team.
Yeah. That's I think the line movement following the injury makes a lot of sense. If using my handy dandy no priors tool from Bart Torvik that I've built in a spreadsheet, it's got it at Iowa State 3.6 minus 3.6, and that's only giving 3 per home. I kind of think you give more plus injury stuff. So I'm definitely leaning towards Iowa State. I almost think it's playable at minus 4. So if you're willing to risk it, I think that's the side. All right, moving on. Next one on slate. This is North Carolina headed to Notre Dame in the ACC. Matt, North Carolina is off to a 2-0 start in the ACC, 2 covers on the road at Georgia Tech and Boston College. Can they keep it going with a third to start league play? That's the question.
Yeah, I know you guys aren't big Notre Dame fans, and I think we've discussed that we are starting to believe in the UNC potential. It's all starts with defense, though, right? They got to be consistent on that end. Offensively, they've had all their question marks shirt up, right? We have shooting on the perimeter, which has been lights out this year. Caleb Love has solidified the point guard spot. Their forwards seem to be working well interchangeably. Kai, you have kind of the stretchy forwards with Garcia and Manic, and you have Baycott, who's been a monster up front. So you kind of check all the ingredients boxes for North Carolina. They're sitting at 31 in KenPom. Certainly to reason to believe that they are undervalued in the market, given that this one's sitting at only a point higher than the KenPom projection at 2.5. I lean the heels here.
Could argue Notre Dame is still overvalued too. They've dropped 35 spots in KenPom, and I'm not sure that's the floor. Like, there's an advantage for all over the floor for UNC in this game, even without Garcia, assuming he doesn't play. I think they continue their hot start. Notre Dame's the worst ATS team in the ACC. That's saying something for how bad the ACC has been this year. They've been better at home, clearly beat Kentucky, but I think that was probably more of an anomaly. I'm leaning towards UNC here, Jim.
Yep, I almost made UNC my best bet, laying 2. I just think they're much better. I watched the Boston College game, and I was really impressed with the defense. Like the communication, the rotations, they weren't being careless the way they were early in the year, where people would just get to the rim at will. So I think North Carolina is definitely trending up. Again, filtering out priors, guys, Notre Dame is barely in the top 100 at Bart Torvik. I think that's kind of more what they've been this year, where they're at. The break quotes I read are always like, we're still working on it. We're still figuring it out. We're not quite there yet. And that's how it feels when I watch them. So leaning towards the heels as a short road favorite, starting 3-0 on the road in the ACC. That would be pretty impressive.
Yeah. Strong.
Yep. Okay, let's stay in ACC country, but we're heading down to South Beach, taking our talents there, Kai. That's what we're doing.
That's right.
We got Syracuse headed to Miami, Florida. Man, high total, but Miami has been lights out in ACC play. Through 3 games, they're shooting 48.5% from deep.
Ridiculous.
That feels aberrational. They're only at like 34% on the year. So that tells you how much lower their non-con shooting had to be. I've got some zone numbers, Kai, but I'm curious just where you lean on this matchup first.
Well, and their opponents are shooting 22% from 3. So both those numbers are utter BS for Miami right now.
Yes.
They have to come up. They've won 7 in a row. They're 4-3 against the spread in that time. I think it's a Syracuse bet, Matthew, or at least a lean here. They're going to own the glass. They should have no issue scoring against this defense. And that regression is coming hard for the Canes. I'm leaning towards Syracuse.
Yeah, I guess when I saw the opener total at 157, it's been bet down to 152. So people are clearly calling BS on that initial opener. I think properly so. It's just a situation when you have 2 teams that have been lights out offensively. Now, I think Syracuse is a legitimately awesome shooting team, and that yes, their offensive efficiency is sustainable. Miami, I certainly question it, and I'm a big Miami guy. Even I don't believe that this offense can be this good. And that's, you put those 2 together and you get a total that's in the high 150s. I think that's just a little bit driven too much in some shooting left from Miami and the efficiency. I think when you're playing totals, you got to look more at pace with the zone that Syracuse is going to play tonight. I don't think this is going to be a crazy fast game either. I love the under, even at the current number at 152. I think it's under 150 here.
Yeah, I kind of like the under 2, Matt. I'm with you. Miami has shredded zones so far this year per synergy. They're over 1 point per possession, but it's only 57 possessions, and it's not the Syracuse zone that they've seen. It's been a couple teams just throwing it at them as a curveball. It's not their base defense. So I think they'll struggle a little bit with it. And I'm total agreement with you on tempo. I don't think this turns into a track meet because of the way the zone forces you to be patient and go in and out for opportunities. So if we see some of that Miami shooting regression, I think the under is the bet there.
How about Miami going for 4-0 in ACC, maybe? A little bounce back for Jimmy Larinaga.
Yeah.
The Canes, wow. Kai.
I know. You've been waiting for it.
All 4 at home, I believe.
Yeah, Clemson, NC State, Wake Forest. So 3 solid wins, but all at home. You're right. In the friendly confines of Coral Gables.
Yep. I'm looking to fade them when they hit the road. I'll tell you that much. I hope they win by 20 tonight just for future betting opportunities. But all right, let's pivot to Chat Mob. Kai, you are my czar. I know the questions are flowing in hot and heavy.
Oh, yeah. We got a bunch, man. The most asked about, East Carolina is hosting Tulane. Now, the Chat Mob guys likes East Carolina, but us Weave boys, we like Tulane a lot. Tell us why, Jim.
Yeah, I'm a Tulane guy here. I think their kind of trappy zone stuff is really tough to face out of a COVID pause, which is what East Carolina is doing. Haven't gotten to practice a ton. I know they've gotten back into it a little bit lately, but that's not a team you want to face coming out of the pause. It's not a vanilla defense. And Tulane is firing on all cylinders right now. They beat Memphis at home. They blew out Cincinnati at Cincinnati. I like this Tulane team with Jalen Cook in charge. He's been the linchpin offensively that they've missed in the past. So, yeah, I like Tulane. And my best bet here is also under.
Ooh.
I think the zone stuff is going to give East Carolina quite a bit of trouble. So under 139.5 is my best bet of the day, Matthias.
Yeah, watch out for personnel issues for ECU. If you're backing them, they're they're bound to have somebody out after this pause and the lack of practice they've had.
Extremely talented, extremely athletic. We saw Tulane dismantle Memphis, similar DNA as ECU. So I think they're going to be ready for that. The ECU has a good get off the bus DNA to them. Like, they're talented, but I don't really trust them. Tulane.
How about Buffalo hosting Bowling Green? Now, this spread hasn't moved, Matt, and I'm a little bit confused as to why. It's sitting at 8.5. Josh Mballa has missed last game. There's rumors. Who knows if he's in, he's out, and that's huge. But even with him in, 8.5 feels a touch high, just given the way Buffalo's been playing. What do you think?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of angles to this handicap. I'm surprised it hasn't moved. You can look at the Mballa angle. You can look at the fact that Bowling Green swept Buffalo last season. Buffalo now 0-2 in MAC play. Like, there's just a ton of motivational edge, you would think, on Buffalo's side, especially at home, Jim. But I do lean Bowling Green here. I think they're starting to figure it out. They're healthier. They're probably the healthiest we've seen them all year. They got Matheny back, I believe, last game or 2 games ago. So I do trust the Falcons on the road, even though they don't play a lot of defense.
Yeah, they play a lot of close games, it feels like. So getting 8 points is a decent amount. I think Buffalo wins, but it's hard to trust them to cover, especially when you don't know about Mballa. Whitesell should be back, their head coach. He's back from a COVID absence.
Back to Matt again, because he loves Chuck South. Matt, Chuck South hosting Gardner-Webb. Plus 10.5. Ooh, big spread, but the Bulldogs can run it up. Literally, the score. What do you think?
Yeah, I should bet Chuck South just to my principle, but the early conference game, the team that sucked all non-conference is just bound to play way better than they have so far this year. But I love Gardner-Webb, man. We love the running Bulldogs, continuing to make us money. They just beat the crap out of Georgia. I don't want to fade them, so I won't.
That's Gardner-Webb crushes them.
Ooh, love that, Jim. And Jim, keep the mic, man, and talk about Davidson at St. Joe's. Davidson's minus 4.5. This one has also not moved, been stuck at this number. St. Joe's has been a lot better lately, but Davidson, maybe the best team in the A-10. People are talking about it.
People are saying, this is my line in the sand game on St. Joe's. If they are able to cover against a super well-coached, high execution team, then I am giving St. Joe's a considerable bump. This is my last straw. I think Davidson's good enough to beat them here. They've got a little bit of post defense, and the offensive execution should be enough to undermine St. Joe's defense, which has been better than expected. So I lean towards the road favorite there, Davidson.
I do too. I agree.
Matt, in the horizon, Purdue Fort Wayne is playing Cleveland State again, and the spread is basically the same it was the first time. I believe it's also at Cleveland State again, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep,
so
it is.
Location hasn't changed. Very strange. 10-point spread. Last time Purdue Fort Wayne snuck in the number. Do you think they do it again?
It feels like a weird spot, right? You mentioned all the dynamics there. I guess I'd lean toward the Mastodons. They just don't guard anybody, man. It's hard to trust that team defending, even though they can get white hot. They have 3 above average to phenomenal shot makers, however you want to define, Godfrey and Billups and those guys. But I don't know, Jim. I just don't know if I trust it again with how badly they defend.
Yeah, I just want a quick note that with under 5 minutes left, Purdue Fort Wayne was up 77-70, and then gave up a 20-2 run to Cleveland State and nearly lost the cover. So I almost think that helps them. They're like confident we can beat them at their place. We should have last time. So I kind of think they hang, but I'm not betting this game.
Mm-hmm. Jim, how about Wofford and Chattanooga? 2 teams that I'd say we're both fans of in the SoCon.
Yeah, and that's why I don't have a play. I like them both. I don't think I can feel strong enough about one, especially right around like a pick number. You're kind of choosing who's winning. I guess I probably think Chattanooga's slightly better, but Wofford should get Klesmit back. He's a monster on the perimeter. Great knockdown shooter. Nuga has an edge in the paint. I like both coaches. It's a stay away from me.
All right. And Matt, another SoCon game, Furman, UNC Greensboro. This spread's gotten up there a little bit. -4 towards the Paladins on the road. What do you think?
There may not be a hotter team in college basketball than VMI right now. So I'm not looking to get in the way in that steam. I do like the men in fur. I was hoping to catch it at 3, but it got bet up to 4 pretty quickly this morning.
Playing Greensboro.
I'm sorry, I'm talking about the wrong team here. Furman Greensboro. Yeah, Greensboro off the pause, Kai. Got Langley back right before that, their point guard who was suspended to start the year. They're not operating at they're not hitting it all on full cylinders right now. I'm not looking to play Greensboro. I lean the other way.
All right, let's do 2 more and then we'll cut it off and save the rest. North Florida at Florida Gulf Coast, Jim, a little Sunshine State rivalry. I guess it's probably a rivalry. What do you think? Huge spread, double digits.
I think it's a little big. I think this is kind of the stuff Matt talked about with the big road dogs to start conference play. Or Florida played a gauntlet of a non-con schedule, like absolutely insane all over the country. Now they're playing somebody more in their level. Although FGC is very talented, I think UNF can hang around and keep that one close.
I think the zone bothers them. I agree. I lean UNF too.
All right. Last one, Matt, before we go back to the rundown here. Citadel, Western Carolina. Specific question about the over in this game. You can talk about the spread too if you want. It's in favor of the Catamounts by 1.5.
Like the over, man. If you like 3-pointers, there's going to be an abundance.
100 taken, maybe.
I think like 60 is a good over under for number of threes attempted. Typically, that bodes well for overs teams that shoot lots of threes.
I think
that's probably 70, 75 threes.
Yeah.
I think it's the 19th ranked 3-point attempt rate and another top 20 team on or third for Western Carolina. I like the over. Plus, can go up and down. Just make shots.
I just realized I made a Matt mistake because Chattanooga Wofford was on a rundown.
I was about to scold you.
That's my fault.
Wow.
Slap you on the wrist.
Wow.
So we talked about that one already, Jim. So I guess we can skip to the next one. That's my fault.
Well, did you get a word in on Wofford Nuga? I want to make sure you get your opinion out here. I'm sure
I know. I
copious research. So
Nuga's awesome, man. They're really good. That's my research. Now I watched him play ETSU. I think Wofford can combat him up front, but I would not get in the way of Nuga. I think they're going to emerge as the best team in that league.
Yeah,
Big stay away from me.
I didn't mention that I do kind of like the under. I think it's going to be a slow tempo game. Both teams, like I said, well coached. I think they'll have some interesting chess matches, but no side at all.
All right, Jim. All right.
Big East game.
Yeah, my SoCon, I'm discombobulated my SoCon. Like, who's playing who today? I'm forgetting who's playing who. It's tough.
Yeah. All right. So we will move down the outline because Kai stepped on its toes. How dare you?
It's bad by me.
Going to the Big East, Creighton at Villanova. We have got a little bit of a revenge spot here, boys. Nova got stomped in Omaha, lost by 20. Could not make a three in that game. But more concerningly, Kai, Creighton shot 65% inside the arc and Villanova shot 43%. I think that is the story of this matchup, that Creighton is a dominant rim team and that's Villanova's weakness on both ends. So it kind of comes down to whether Nova hits enough threes. Would you agree?
Yeah, they hit 4 in the first game, but I can't do it. I take a page out of Marquette's playbook, man. Every time they drove to the basket and they would shot fake, Cockburn would go up for it, wide open dump to the guy behind on the block.
Yeah, God,
do that every time.
6 possessions in a row for Marquette.
Shoot the ball. Jays, man. And Matt, I've doubted the Jays twice on the road. They're 2-0 against the spread with a 9-point cover margin on the road. They don't care about being young. They're tough. Yeah. Fun with numbers here a little bit spread wise. This game closed 7.5 at Creighton. So you are basically implying that these two teams are 2 points closer than they were back whenever they played last couple weeks ago.
I like that.
Do you buy that? I suppose I might, because Creighton's been a little bit better than I thought.
And no Caleb Daniels for Nova.
No Caleb Daniels. Probably makes sense, Matt. It seems like a big spread. Just gut.
Now I was looking at that too, Kai, and I thought about it, and I agree that I now believe Creighton is a little better than I thought previously. They've impressed me enough. You mentioned the 2 road wins. They just play like a more mature, grown-up team than you'd expect from a bunch of freshmen out there. The way Nemhard's running the point, they have good balance on the wing, and then Kalkbrenner is like a weapon. Like, he's not just like a cute big inside that's developing into like a project. He's legit. He has arrived right now, and he's a problem for Nova.
Footwork. Yeah,
great footwork. I mean, on both ends too. It's not just like an offensive role guy. Defensively, he's sound. His length bothers everything, and that's Creighton's always been their weakness. And so now they've kind of plugged that. It's tough to fade Creighton here, Jim. I'm respecting the Jays.
Yeah, I think Villanova wins. Like, I'm not, going to talk about Creighton money line at all, but it just seems like a big number to cover especially at Villanova's tempo.
Yes.
10.5 is a lot. So. All right.
129 is a total too. Yeah. I got bet down a little bit.
Yeah. All right. Next one, VCU at Dayton, headed to the A10. Both teams coming out of COVID pauses. So have fun playing lineup whack-a-mole if you were really all over this one. VCU, rumored or almost confirmed by Rhodes, I think at one point they had one player not in protocol over Christmas break. So clearly they are struggling to get back to the threshold to play this game. I love VCU long-term in the A10. Mm-hmm. I think they're mega undervalued. That's plus 850 to win the conference is a decent price with Ace Baldwin in there, Kai, but hard to really get a handle on this particular game.
Yep. And I think Dayton's a tough team to play on the road. Putting those 3 games in the non-con aside, when they were just weirdly terrible at home.
Hadn't figured out their point guard situation yet.
Yeah, I think they bounce back here. The worry is Dayton turns the ball over 100 times because VCU's defense is that good. And Dayton's offense has been very sloppy, Matt. Can't shoot, kind of an issue. And Baldwin's been great for VCU's offense. If I knew who was in the lineup and we put the COVID pause out of it, I think +3, if you get it there, would be a great value for VCU. But I'm staying away because, as Jim said, we just have no idea who's actually in or out.
Man, even I might just hop in now at 3 with the risk that hopefully it's not like a catastrophic like explosion of players being out. Dayton just played Southern before the break. Team that pressures you, they turned it over 21 times. I mean, VCU is going to give the exact same recipe in your face. That's not going to go well. And we've been sort of harping on Dayton's lack of guard play all season. They've had some guys emerge, Malachi Smith and Kobe Elvis, have played better, but still, I don't trust him, man. VCU's pressure is a different beast. I lean the Rams chip, even though it's off the pause.
Yeah, I'm going to be looking at the lineup here. If Baldwin is in and Vince Williams and maybe like 1 or 2 other key guys, I will probably take the 3 with VCU if it's still out there. So that is my plan with this particular game. All right, let's go to another team off of a COVID pause here, guys. That is St. John's. Basically, everybody tested positive. I think that's the reports out of Queens. They're hosting DePaul, who has seemed to have reverted back to their old ways, Matthew.
Of course.
Big East DePaul getting absolutely clobbered at home by Providence. Not a great showing. They are full strength. They got David Jones back. They've gotten Javon Johnson, the transfer, in there, so they seem like they're deeper. Maybe you trust them on the road against the St. John's team coming out of the pause? Or are you kind of, scared of playing possessed right now?
Uh-oh, Matt's muted.
We lost Matt's sound. That's tough.
Testing 1, 2.
Hey, he's back. There we go.
Back. Hey guys, how's it going? Kai, I am not ready to give up on our Devons yet.
No,
I want to look at that Providence game. I think, Jim, you mentioned this. Providence came out and punched him right in the mouth a few times in the first 10 minutes, and it just kind of dug the hole that they could never really dig out of. I think they bounce back here. This game's going to be helter-skelter. It's not going to be an execution-based half-court affair where I think DePaul struggles. Like, just remove the restrictor plates from the methodical half-court execution type stuff, and I think DePaul thrives. I do lean Demons here. It's a short spread going on the road, but I do lean Demons.
If they're going to get off the mat, man, this is the game to do it. Even on the road, Johnny's are off a pause. Johnny's lost a Pitt at home. They didn't have Champagne. That's big, but they probably should have won that game. He's probably back, by the way, in the lineup. DePaul's 0-2 in the Big East, man. They have to be hungry. If not, it's the same old for them. I'm leaning towards DePaul here as well. I don't think St. John's is very good, especially off the pause.
Yeah, I don't think St. John's isn't going to do what Providence did. Like Matt said, they're not going to force them to play in the half court. And if DePaul can run, they can be deadly. Just the thing that's spooking me is the number. Like, if you made this number 5 in the preseason, people would think you're absolutely out of your mind.
Exactly.
So for it to be that now, obviously it's COVID pause and DePaul's been better, but it's still shaky to only take 5 on the road.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that wraps up the outline. Let's go to some more chat questions. I know there are plenty, and then we'll get to our best bets, or remind you of our best bets, since mine has already been given away.
Yes, and I can't emphasize enough. Rapid fire, guys. We've got a shit ton.
Sorry.
Test. I'm not sure I'm allowed to do that. Alabama A&M, Mississippi Valley State, Matt. Does Mississippi Valley State get its first win?
Nope. Bulldogs are too good. Sorry. Squashing that one.
All righty.
They made 48% from 3 last game and didn't cover against a team missing its 2 best
regression
scores.
Yeah, it's tough. Jim, how about Richmond? Speaking of regression, will they regress to being a good team again against UMass coming off the pause?
Man, I think this is like a monster coaching edge for Richmond, but their last 2 games have been so terrible that it's hard to get excited about the Spiders. Sort of lean their way. UMass coming out of a long break. I don't think they had COVID themselves. Their opponents did, but still lean towards the Spiders slightly. It's hard to trust them right now.
How about Valpo, Matt, going to Northern Iowa? I would say this. Spread feels kind of short because I was looking to bet Valpo, but my number actually leans towards the Panthers.
Yeah, I think you guys are both on the Panthers here. I was surprised. It did feel a little rich to me, actually, Kai. So I lean the other way. I thought it was kind of a high spread for another Iowa team coming back from Hawaii that we haven't seen defend at a high level. I know they're good, but the best version of UNI.
They played since they got back from Hawaii.
They only played 1 game? Okay, you're right. Yeah. Sorry. So I guess the Hawaii angle's off the table. Still, I don't trust their defense, Jim.
Fair.
Jim, Texas Southern is going to Grambling. Grambling State +5. What do you think?
Yeah, Grambling out of their pause, that scares me. Number feels a little high. I think Grambling's more competent than that number seems to indicate, but boy, Texas Southern looked horrendous against Southern. If you pressure them, they will hand you the ball and get back on defense, or think about getting back on defense. So I kind of lean Texas Southern from a just like 0-1 in the SWAC. I don't see that team being 0-2, but that one's a stay away from me.
Matt, Missouri State is at Bradley. Your Missouri State Bears, your Bradley Braves. You like both teams. Missouri State's a 1-point favorite. A little bit of money for Bradley in this game. What do you think?
Seems like people are fading the spot for Missouri State, who Dana Ford said the win against Drake was like the best of his tenure. The local reports, it was like a celebration coronation of Missouri State after they beat Drake. They couldn't get the monkey off their back. They celebrated
like the guy, like what's his name, getting out of prison in Shawshank. Like
Andy Dufresne.
Yeah, Andy Dufresne. It was like the most iconic moment for them. And I'm worried about
all that said, this line's too short. I'm not going to play it, but I can see why people are betting Bradley.
I lean towards Missouri State, honestly. If Deshaun Henry is still out of the lineup, that's a lineup check. Jim, Tennessee and Ole Miss. If this game happens, who do you like? 16.5 point spread is like, wow.
I mean, it's kind of a lineup check, I think. I mean, Ole Miss is supposed to be like right at the threshold of players to play. And so if a lot of their key guys are out, we already know Jarkel Joyner is one of the ones that's out. I kind of think Tennessee kills them. Yep. Tennessee lost to them last year at Ole Miss in one of the most anemic offensive performances of the season by a good team. I think there's going to be some anger there. I would lean towards the Vols, especially if the Ole Miss lineup is ravaged.
All right, 3 games left here, all power conferences. Matt, Nebraska's on the road at Michigan State, 15.5. Oof, that seems high, right?
Does seem high. I was impressed with Nebraska last game against Ohio State. They defended pretty well. Derek Walker is kind of a sneaky piece inside, and I think they can actually keep Sparty within arm's length. I think that's a big number, Jim. Same with the Ole Miss angle. It's just too large for a conference game.
And Nebraska became competent last year when they started defending. If they do that again this year, then they can also once again be competent.
Jim, some people think this line is also way too big. Pitt is getting 12.5 points on the road against Louisville, a team that certainly not looked very good this season.
It's not.
Yeah, I guess I get that. It should be kind of slow and ugly. Both teams are much better defensively than they are offensively. Louisville's offense has been nightmarishly bad for most of the season so far. I honestly think the number's about right, though, given the way these two teams have played. If you're big into the return of Ithiel Horton from his criminally induced suspension, that is, a somewhat of a boost for the Pitt backcourt. But this one, I'm not touching. I think the number's correct.
I agree.
And then finally, Matt, Penn State at Northwestern. Northwestern's taking all kinds of money, up to 7.5. Ooh, Penn State off a victory against your Indiana Hoosiers.
Someone out there with big pockets and apparently a decently smart brain is betting Northwestern consistently. I don't get it. I think they're good.
I was going to say Darren Rovell, but then you said smart brain. So
it's disqualified. I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't get it. I really don't. Like, I think Penn State should be like a 5-point dog in this game. It's been bet up to 7.5. I'm going to probably come back in on the Nittany Lions once I confirm that no one's out. But Jim, good chance someone is.
Yeah, I really like the spot for Northwestern. I wanted to play them at like 5-ish, but holy cow, it got away.
We got a little time here. So Jim, Youngstown at Robert Morris, 3.5 point spread.
Line up check.
Yep.
If Rasheem Dunn and Justin Winston are back, I will be on Robert Morris. If not, I am not touching that poisonous team that has been pretty terrible all season.
Bobby Moe, stay the course, Jim. Trust him.
And then finally, Matthew, South Florida, Houston. What do you think?
Go Bulls. Let's go Bulls.
That's a Bill Murray Space Jam.
Bill Murray impression Space Jam. Sorry, deep cut for those of you who thought my voice actually cracked there. Yeah, I think we saw the Bulls stymie Auburn when they came to Tampa. Their defense is all the way legit. Their offense is a disaster, but you don't have to score that much against Houston to cover 15. So I like Bulls.
Yeah, I've seen people mention the under. I think I kind of agree on under. I think it's going to be a rock fight in this one.
All right, Jim, back to you. I guess we can get to best bets. I can probably just keep the mic. What do you think?
Yeah, Kai, you got something going on today? Seem like you're in a rush.
Where are you going?
No, not at all, Jim. We talked about 30 games. Just trying to keep it tight for the people out there. My best bet is Milwaukee plus 1.5. I don't love it.
Why? I don't love doing that.
Because Milwaukee should be favored at Green Bay.
Yes, they should.
Full stop. Even without Pat Baldwin, they should be favored at Green Bay. It's silly. The Panthers have so much more talent than the Phoenix. Green Bay's been feisty. They're pretty good against the spread, but they should also be missing Donovan Ivory, one of their starters. I think he matters more for that team. Milwaukee's offense has been the same from an on-off standpoint with Baldwin in and out of lineup, which is kind of crazy.
I almost think they might be better. They're not
Move
trying
the ball
to
more,
put him in spots. Yeah.
Yep.
I agree.
I didn't make any Baldwin adjustments, which is crazy, but I just didn't. It's I don't know.
All right. So Milwaukee plus 1.5 is my best bet. To Matthew.
I don't think I explicitly said this when we discussed.
We haven't talked
earlier.
about it, actually.
We have not.
Feel free to endorse the side, too, if you want.
East Tennessee State, VMI. I like East Tennessee State, which is against pretty much every big money player in the market right now. The line got smashed down to 2. VMI has been a rocket ship. I think I was starting to say this earlier and then got sidetracked with my confusion of SoCon matchups today. Both teams can score at will in this game. ETSU down their 2 best big guys. I think VMI has a field day with their offense shooting. They get up and down. ETSU started to play better when they tried to run against Chattanooga. I think we heard Oliver talk about how he wants to run the offseason. Now's the time to do it. You have no big guys. You have speed and athletes and skill. Go, go, go. And I think they do. Over 145.5.
Kai, I believe you were on VMI last year in this matchup, and ETSU went absolutely banana land from
deep. It was 60% from 3. Yeah,
that's right. The Brewers just could not miss.
Yes,
and that game had 170 points. So hopefully you get something like that today.
Jim, your best bet.
As mentioned, is the Tulane East Carolina under. East Carolina should be a little bit sluggish and disjointed coming out of their lack of practice and COVID pause, facing a tricky defense, the way that Tulane can mix that up. And Tulane's been awesome offensively. I think they're actually due for a little bit of regression after the last couple of games. So I like the under. I also kind of lean Tulane's side. I toyed with the idea of doing a 2 for best bet on this game, but I don't want to be that leveraged on ECU's offense. That basically is what it comes down to if you do that. So,
well, correlated parlay, Jim. How about for us both? We could do a ETSU side over, and you can do Tulane and under.
Yeah. I'm not quite going that far. I'm just going to stick to the under 139.5 as my best bet.
Simple. Right.
That wraps it up. We're going to let Kai get out of here. He's clearly got big plans today. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We'll tweet our best bets, get those out there. Remember to hit the like button on your way out. Real simple. Takes 1 second. We appreciate that. We're getting closer to 1,000 subscribers as well. That's big for the channel.
Great stuff.
Our overlord, Rob, has promised to create a podcast feed for this show. So you won't need to watch the video, and it'll be up in posterity, so you won't have to watch. You can just listen. But that's if we get to 1,000 subscribers. So make sure you subscribe, tell other people. We appreciate that. So thank you to Field 68. Thank you to BetRivers. We'll be back same time tomorrow for a Thursday show. We'll see you then, and good luck.